Hi, I'm Rabbi Shaul Rosenblatt. Welcome to Tikun's Weekly Dava. This week's portion is Lech Lecha. It's the third portion of the book of Genesis. It talks about Abraham. We're first introduced to Abraham. And he's told to leave his family, leave his birthplace, leave his father's home, and go to a land that God's going to show him. And God says to him, in the context of that, he says to him, I'll make you a great nation, and you will become famous, and you will be successful financially. It's an interesting thing for God to promise him. They don't seem to be the things that are Abraham's priorities. And the rabbis tell us that the reason God says this is because when one travels, those three particular things are very hard to kind of keep up with, so to speak. It's very hard for people to know you, people to get to know you when you travel. It's very hard to be successful financially. If you're traveling around the world, you've got no base to kind of build something from. It's hard to build a family. And God says to Abraham that go and do this, and go and do the right thing, and you're not going to lose out as a result of it. And that's a fundamental idea in Jewish thinking. We deeply believe that concept, that when you do the right thing, you don't lose by doing it. Now, it's not an easy principle to live by, and sometimes it can be counterintuitive. But it's something that I very much try to do in my life, and I do find that it always works. Just give you a couple of examples. In business, let's say, it might seem like being a little bit dishonest, a little bit untruthful, might get you further, might help you achieve more. I don't believe that's the case. Let's say, I know in the retail sector, I know that the stores I go to, the companies that I deal with, that I buy from, that I feel deal honestly and truthfully with me, even though they might lose a little bit of money, they're stores I'm going to go to again, and stores that don't, I'm not going to shop at again. That's just on a micro level, but I think that applies across the board in a business level. As an employee, let's say, if you're honest and you own up to a mistake you've made, you might feel that people are going to judge you, and it's going to affect your position, and it's going to affect how people view you. And that may well be true in the short term. But I think in the long term, people will respect your integrity, and people will look at you in a different way, and it'll make you feel differently about yourself also. You don't lose out when you do the right thing. I recall once, a number of years ago, my wife and I booked a little holiday in the country, and we were walking out the door. Literally walking out the door. It's very, very, not that often. Her sister happened to be here from Israel. Not that often we get away on our own. Completely on our own. Walking out the door and the phone went. And I said, should we answer it? Shouldn't we? In the end I said, come on, let's just answer it quickly before we go. It was somebody calling me to tell me that a very, very close friend of mine in Israel, his son had passed away. And I said to my wife, what would she do and what should we do? And she said, get on the next plane to Israel. And we cancelled our holiday. I went to Israel. The next plane, a couple hours later, spent the 7 days of Shiva, the 7 days of mourning with him, and I felt like it was incredibly valuable for him, my being there. We came back, the people in the holiday home completely understood, and let us have it the next week instead, and we had a wonderful holiday. You do the right thing, you don't have to lose out. Even though it looks like you might. I kind of didn't want to go. I kind of felt like, come on, it's a holiday and we'd never get a chance, and maybe I shouldn't have answered the phone, but you don't lose by doing the right thing. I recall once I had an accident and in a car, and it was my fault, but there were no witnesses and nobody would have known. But I owned up immediately, and a lawyer friend of mine said to me, that's a ridiculous thing to do. Why would you want to own up if there were no witnesses? But I felt it was right and honest, Why should I not own up if it's not my fault, if it is my fault? And there was no real way of evaluating what the damages were. The guy was telling me that the damages were more than I felt they really should be. But at the end of the day, I had damaged his car, and there was no way for me to know, but I felt it was the right thing. I sent him a check for the amount that he wanted. And he sent me the check back in the post, by return post, and said, I just wanted to see that you were being honest. And now that I knew that you were, I don't really need the money, and here's it back. I can't recall a time in my life, I really can't, where I felt I've done the right thing and I've lost out in doing so. And the same was true of Abraham, and that's what God was saying to Abraham. Traveling around the world, it minimizes your fame, it minimizes your fortune, it minimizes your ability to have children. Yet Abraham Abraham was the wealthiest man in town. Abraham's fame extends 3,500 years later. We still talk about him after 3,500 years. That's pretty famous. And his children are as numerous as the stars in the sky. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to do the right thing. It'll always work out for you. Wish you a Shabbat Shalom. If you're interested in finding out more about Tikun, please log on to our website, tikun.co.uk. Thank you.